Hello, hello. I think this thing's on. How we all doing, everybody? Welcome from, if it's your morning, your afternoon, or your evening. Wow, I can't talk today. Hope you're all doing well, regardless of where you're at in the world. And welcome to another Hornet Security webinar. As always, my name is Andy Surwich. I'm a technical evangelist with Hornet Security, and with me is Matt Fry. How's it going, Matt?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Good. Thank you. It's the afternoon for me here, but agreed. Same as welcome everybody wherever you are in the world. I see we have about over 70 people already with us, so
We
yeah,
do.
excited. Let's get on and talk about this stuff.
Definitely. We've got a lot of great content to talk to you guys about today. And really what you're here to listen to about is next generation security awareness service. So we had a lot of content to get into here in a short 45, 50-minute period. So we're just going to kind of dive right in here. And the first thing I want to start with is just our agenda. So the first thing we'll start with is some introductions of myself, Matt, Hornet Security, and then we're going to get into this core topic of why is security awareness so important? We're going to do a product overview. How are we handling this problem? We're going to talk about our patented spear phishing engine, our employee security index, and how that makes your end user security behavior measurable. Going to talk about demand-driven e-training. Going to show the control panel, and Matt's going to do a live demo for us. I'm looking forward to that. And then finally, we'll do a features at a glance of the security awareness suite at the end. Now, before I dive into introductions, if you have any questions throughout the webinar today, feel free to use the questions form in GoToWebinar. Feel free to throw those in there when you think of them. If we can kind of stop organically, if we get a chance, we'll go ahead and address those as they come in. Otherwise, we've got a Q&A section at the end of the webinar where we will attempt to answer as many questions as we can with the time allotted. Even if we don't get all the questions answered, we'll make sure we get an answer to your question either via email or some other method after that. So a quick introduction. My name is Andy Surwitz. Like I mentioned, I'm a technical evangelist with Hornet Security. Been in the industry for a while. My background has always been in infrastructure and now security. So, I was a virtual machine guy, storage guy, networking guy. So very much data center driven. And, security is always a big part of that, right? And if you want to reach out to me, get a hold of me after the presentation, maybe you have a follow-up question. I'm using Mastodon quite a bit more these days. My information to connect on Mastodon is right there. I'm out on the InfoSec Exchange instance in case you want to connect. And Matt, I'll let you do your own introduction.
Yeah, good morning, and good afternoon, and good evening again. So yeah, my name is Matt Fry. I'm head of pre-sales and training and education here at Hornet Security. I've been with the company for 40 years now. Before that, I headed up the technical departments of EveryCloud, which is a global distributor of the Hornet Security product, which I did that for about 3 years. And prior to that, I was ran a team of 10, 12 IT techs in an MSP in Bristol here in the UK. And during that, for the majority of that period, I sold a Hornet Security stroke anti-spam Europe as it was back then product. So in essence, I've been looking after, supporting and installing Hornet Security products for 15 years probably now all in total. So yeah, good times, good times. So just a little bit about us, and I guess to kind of start the day, we're Hornet Security. We're a leading cloud email security compliance and backup provider, as you probably already know. Within our portfolio, we've got 365 Total Protection, which is covering all aspects of security for Microsoft 365, not just spam and malware or threats, but also compliance, email management, and right through to backup and recovery. We've got well over 5,000 partners and over 50,000 customers worldwide now, and we're growing on a weekly, daily basis, which is all good news. It's probably pertinent to note at this stage as well that all our products and all our development is in-house. From the initial idea right through to final product, our services are planned, conceived, and developed by us here at Hornet Security. We have in-house support in our offices. We have in-house support in multi-language now, German, Spanish, French, and also Italian now, as of this last few weeks. And we also have a security lab, which is 24/7 monitoring of email traffic, continuous evaluation, analysis, and reporting of threats and analytics, including a cyber threat report, which you can download from our website at any point in time you fancy. So a little bit more about us. We've got about, I think we have 11 data centers now. Oh, thank you, Andy. 11 data centers across the world now and 10 offices. So we're definitely a global organization. And as I said, we're more importantly, we're still growing in various areas of the world. Within those sectors and offices, we've got 2 here in the UK, 1 in the US, 1 in Canada, 2 in Germany, Australia, South Africa, Malta, Macedonia. So again, you can see we're trying to cover a global reach here as a company. Our kind of historic dealings within Hornet Security, were founded in 2007 to develop cloud security services. We then opened up a UK subsidiary in America in 2017 so we could try and enter the North American market. And in 2018, we acquired a spam filter division of Avira, which gave us a much bigger foothold in the Benelux region and sort of implanted us in Northern Europe. In 2019, we acquired the Spanish email security vendor Spamina, which gave us kind of made us the leading cloud German security provider in Northern Europe, and gave us reach into South America as well. Then in 2020, the acquisition of EveryCloud, which was me, which is where I joined the company, and this strengthened our position within the English-speaking markets. And again, we were able to expand further into the North American market with the Canadian email security provider Zero Spam in the same year. And then finally, in 2021, we acquired Altaro. As some of you probably know that name from the backup VM backup products, and that allowed us to become more strategic and develop and allow us to sort of look more into replication of backup solutions and products, specifically around Microsoft 365. And literally this last year, we acquired IT Seal, a security awareness training company. That's allowed us to provide a SaaS product, which we're going to talk to you about today. So again, all showing the expansion and the sort of drive that Hornet Security is trying to implement. And of course, comes the employee numbers. So I think we're looking at over 300% increase in employees from 2017. So you can see that as an employer, we are absolutely growing as well in the same vein. So next gen security awareness service. This is to strengthen your human firewall and create a secure culture within your company for security. And I guess the kind of start of all this is, why do we need this? And I'm going to use a quick example, if you don't mind me jumping in, Andy.
Yeah, go for
it. That takes me right back to my early days as an MSP in Bristol, where we had a customer we looked after, a little small company. I think they had 4 or 5 employees, 1 office, 1 floor, all within inside of each other. And to cut a long story short, the admin lady reached over to the CEO and said to him one day, "Hey, Dave, listen, I'm going to make this payment. This is the 8th one, yeah, and I think it's the final one. You know, that's like our entire slush fund gone." And he said to her, I said, "Sorry, what payment to who?" That was the 8th payment to a phishing email, and that had wiped out the entire company's slush fund. And he literally sat 2 meters across the room, perfectly viewable. I talked on all day, every day about all manner of things. And this happened over a 3-week period. And again, kind of more importantly, when I went over to her, I was the lucky person to go over to her desk. When I went over to her desk and sat down with her and said, "Okay, let's have a look at these emails. Let's go back to the beginning." She pointed out the problem with that very first email before I did. Straight away. "Oh, that email address, that's not Dave's." No, it isn't Dave's. That's something at something.com. Completely irrelevant. So I've been sort of an evangelist for this, and an evangelist for Hornet Security having SAS as a product and a service for a long time now, because I absolutely see its value and importance in this market. Okay. Sorry, go on, Andy. Go on. You were going to say.
No, I was just going to say, if I go back to I advanced the slide, but if I go back to this slide, if I go back to my own service provider days, I think every single one of these talking points here, hey, I'm not going to be attacked anyway, I'm too small, or the other one I've heard is we're too big and our security is too good, so we won't be attacked.
Absolutely.
Our IT has already taken care of that, or I have more important things to do than worry about IT security. Like, I can't count the times I've heard all of these. And the fact is, while it used to be certain industry verticals tended to be attacked more so than others, our recent cybersecurity report our data shows that it doesn't matter what industry vertical you're in anymore. If you are an organization that is able to pay a ransom, you're a target, you know? So I think security awareness training helps address and helps bring that fact to the end users in an organization. Hopefully, put comments like this to rest, right? So that's
I
just the
agree.
one thing I wanted to add.
Absolutely. And as it said in that bottom right slide there, you know, the when it comes down to it, that the IT security, the humans are risk factor number one, quite simply.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and again, the kind of leading into this next slide, that one of the first questions I get asked quite regularly is, you know, why do I need security awareness training? Why do I need this service as such? I have a spam filter, or I have a complex system in place to look after myself. Well, the fact is that even if you look at us, who we say we're industry leading, we're the best, we are 99.9. We are not 100. Nothing is 100%, and it's quite simply that something may get through at some point, and you need your employees to be that final firewall.
Exactly. I've got a story that I actually experienced this for a service provider. I already mentioned I worked for a service provider previously, and in this particular situation, I don't remember exactly. I think the CEO's mailbox had been compromised. This was back in the mid 2000s. So, you know, these are the days where people are using Outlook web access, right? So anyway, the CEO's account gets compromised in some way, shape, or form. And then the attacker using that account sends an email to the CFO and says, hey, we've got this super urgent invoice that needs to be paid. You know, please wire $70,000 to this account over here, right? No invoice attached. No, so thankfully we had been doing some security awareness training at the time, and the CFO was aware enough that, like, hey, this is really out of the norm. Even though, you know, the email address checks out, the name checks out, everything from an email header's perspective checks out. This still smells off. And so thankfully he had the awareness to get up out of his chair, walk across the hall, and say, "Hey, you know, what's the deal with this invoice?" Well, what invoice? Well, funny thing is we got, and this is so rare for situations like this, got in touch with the local FBI field office. They ended up catching the guy who sent the email.
Nice.
Don't ask me how they caught the guy. I just know that they caught the guy, so that's kind of interesting. But that goes to show that despite all of these security solutions that can be in place, sometimes it all comes down to that end user, right? And thankfully, in this case, it was highly beneficial.
It absolutely comes down to end user. Both for examples that are not pre-planned, funnily enough, but both show that it takes somebody to stand up and say something. In your case, they stood up early and made the call. In my example, they didn't make the call. And again, in both instances, not quite exactly the same office, but the same offices down the hall, very close. But people don't seem to be willing to ask that question or stand up and query it as such.
Right.
And again, using this slide, it's a good example of why it's important in employees accessing business inadequately secured devices, so therefore it's hackable, therefore somebody else is using it. So in your case, the webmail, they're getting into the webmail and then they're starting the conversation. Using business to overall check emails privately, which then gives them an attack vector into that device from their own personal email that isn't filtered properly, etc., etc. They receive phishing calls or are contacted by social networks by fake profiles. That's an absolute classic. Funnily enough, my dad mentioned last night. I was with my dad last night, and he mentioned a new thing that he'd heard. I don't know if it's called butchered or butchering, or I haven't heard the term before, where people kind of get in touch with you on social dating sites and make a connection with you, but they use that purely to offer you an investment opportunity and then sting you with the investment opportunity. And my dad, being a 78 strong single man looking for a nice young lady, he's fully aware of things, and I love the fact that he's fully aware. But I mean, that's not even something I was even aware of, that one.
Is that like the modern day equivalent to the snake oil salesman, right?
Right, absolutely. That's a really good example. That always used to be the standard joke, didn't it? The blackguard down the pub or the snake oil salesman. Take yourself back into history. It's the same people and it's the same examples. Um, in fact, if you want to flick to the next slide, Andy,
Sure.
this all links in perfectly into this whole comment, this whole thinking around psychology. And for those of you who don't know the Kahneman system, I'm not going to bore you with a whole load of psychology and stuff. I only know a small portion, but it basically he breaks down human thinking into two areas. System one, fast thinking, which the vast majority of your day-to-day activities and thought processes are based upon, and system two, the slow thinking, the deliberate, the rational. System one, for example, is 2 + 2, Andy, 4. That's fast thinking. It's just, you don't think about that number. It's just there. It's in the back of your head. If I say to you, your mum, there's a memory that comes back immediately into your head about your mum, okay? Because that's just there. It's always there. It's fast. It's in the front of your head. System two is much more deliberate, rational, and analytical thinking, but it's a tiny, tiny fraction of our day to day. And these attackers absolutely take advantage of system one. The people we spoke about, the snake oil salesman, right through to the phishing attempts, they are attempting to get you on that fast thinking day to day. I've got 25 emails. I need to just get through these emails. What's this one? It's for him, right? Yes, of course I'll pay it. Just get on. Right, I've got more important. Oh, I didn't stop and I didn't think. When I used to have conversations with some customers when I worked for the MSP, I used to say, take 5 seconds and just think. If you're just unsure, take 5 seconds and think about it, and or skip it and come back to it in 2 seconds. Skip that email, 4 or 5 emails, and go back to that email. It might just make sense or even completely not make sense after that stop period, which I guess in a way is that kind of point about slow thinking in system two.
Right, right. All right. You want me to cover the requirements for sustainable security culture, Matt?
Yeah, go on, you go for it. You go for it.
Yeah. So I really like this slide because it really kind of lays out the requirements, right, for a sustainable security culture. And I also like the term sustainable security culture, right? Because if you think about some of the stuff that we've been doing to date to kind of address this issue, it seems like a lot of the industry has just, oh, let's throw some training at them. Let's just throw some training at them and then they'll be good, right? Well, that's good for a while, but unless it's a sustained effort over the long term, you're not going to get to a place where you are ultimately protected. And really what that takes is these 3 things. First is mindset. And to me, out of these 3 that are here, this is the most difficult one to kind of, get taken care of. You have to get everybody in the organization on board, from leadership down to the rank and file worker, on the same page that, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do this e-training. We're going to make a concerted effort to improve our security posture as an organization. And then with that comes the skill set. Hey, we're going to use the e-training. We're going to use phishing simulations, short videos to help everybody in the organization acquire those skills and knowledge. And then finally, utilize the skill sets, the live dashboard, incident reporting chains. We've got a really nice Outlook add-in that's got a reporter button. I'm sure Matt will probably show you that a little bit later. All of this stuff together really works to create that sustainable security culture for your organization. Now, in terms of the product inside of the Hornet Security Suite, this is our newest product. Came out in October, I believe, is when we launched it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt.
Yeah. October it was.
Yep. But really, it's broken down into 4 components here. We've got the awareness dashboard, which is the dashboard that your CISO is going to use to kind of get a bird's eye view of, what's the security posture of the organization in terms of the security awareness service. You've got your users that are going to be utilizing the security hub, which is kind of a portal and a dashboard that they use to access the e-learning platform. And then on the administrative side, we've got the spear phishing engine and the awareness engine, which we are going to talk about here in a second. So I'm going to start with the spear phishing engine. And the spear phishing engine really does some cool stuff. And I've got a quick diagram to show you here in a second that kind of explains the workflow and kind of how it works. But really what the spear phishing engine does is it allows you to set up spear phishing campaigns of various levels, right? And starting at level 1 is the easiest, all the way to the most difficult for the end user to detect at level 7 at the bottom. And level 1, just to give some examples, I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but to give some examples, level 1 would be like your stereotypical mass phishing email, like, oh, hey, your Amazon package has been canceled. Click here to, check it out, right? Those ones that everybody sees on occasion. And then from there, we get progressively more difficult. Hey, you've got an alleged email from the C-suite, CEO fraud, or some spear phishing attempts that include public information about the company to try and inject some authenticity into the email. And it gets more progressively difficult from there. And this diagram, I feel like, does a really good job of explaining all the capabilities of the spear phishing engine. And if you start on the left-hand side and go to the right, the information gathering phase is on the left-hand side all the way to the end users on the right. Now, I'll start on the green side, the information gathering side of the diagram here. And the solution being, it's cloud-based. It integrates with your mail services. It has access to the user directory, user mailboxes, and it's also able to do company OSINT. So all of that information gets digested by the spear phishing engine, and then it can push out individual spear phishing emails based on all of that collected information. So now we can do things like I mentioned on the previous slide, right? Include some company information inside of the email to see if we can trick the end user. Excuse me. Or we can do things like try to inject ourselves into existing conversations to try and hijack a thread, things like that. So do more than just the mass phishing attempt emails. So ultimately, depending on what type of spear phishing email is generated, that gets sent to the user, and then the user is going to do one of two things. They're either going to say, hey, this is totally a phishing attempt, and they're going to use the button in their Outlook client to report that, and then the Outlook admin will say, hey, you caught one of our phishing emails, good job, and kind of give the end user some kudos. Or if they click on something inside of the email, they'll be directed to a landing page that basically just says, no worries. Thankfully, this was just one of our simulated phishing attempts. But just so you know, this was, a bogus email. And it's really the most teachable moment for the end user at that point in time. And I really like our solution because it does this in what I would say a very non-confrontational way, right? I've seen some solutions where it's almost like it's shaming the end user, and I feel like our product does a really good job of not doing that, because we go back a few slides ago and we talk about buy-in, getting everybody in the organization on board with the security awareness service. In my opinion, shaming them is probably not the best way of getting everybody to buy in, right?
Probably
anyway,
not the best way.
Exactly. And our product does a good job of not doing that. So then from that point, the decision is sent to the awareness dashboard, which ends up on a dashboard that the CISO is going to use to kind of get an idea of where everybody's at from a security knowledge standpoint. Now, as all of this information is, the behavior is collected and digested, we have a patented method called the ESI, the Employee Security Index, that kind of measures the security level of the organization as a whole. Now, really, it's comprised of a number of different things. It kind of enables standardized, transparent measurement and management of security behavior at the enterprise, the group, and the user level. Now, what's nice about this is, as I mentioned earlier, there's varying degrees of difficulty in the phishing simulations, right? So if you look at this chart, the lower the ESI, the worse off the organization is from a security perspective. And when we think about those varying degrees of difficulty on the phishing simulation, if you have an end user click a link inside of a level 1, that is actually more harmful to the end user, or sorry, to the ESI score than if they clicked a link in like a level 7, right? Because it's more likely that the end user is going to, in the real world, end up getting a level 1 or a level 2 attempt in their inbox, as opposed to something that's super ultra targeted at the end user at a level 7. So really what this does is it gives a nice balance between security and feasibility, letting you know kind of where your organization sits. And really what we found is that organizations that achieve a score of 70 or above, you know, that's kind of where you at least a baseline want to be. Greater than 90 is exemplary, right? Greater than 90 is amazing, but definitely we want to see people 70 or above. Anything you want to add to that slide, Matt, while I'm still here?
No, only really that we've also within the dashboard, and I'll show it actually in a minute, that we've got industry averages within the dashboard for the ESIs. You can also see how you compare within your industry average too, as well as just on a global scale, as it were. So.
Yep, definitely, good point.
And kind of, you know, the whole point is that statement is exactly it. As much training as necessary, but as little as possible. You kind of alluded to that, but that's such a truism. At the end of the day, if you keep bombarding the people, they'll kind of switch off. If you force them to keep going through training, or if you, as you said, if you sort of show them up in front of their peers, or even on their own, just show them up, they won't engage. The whole point of our product and methodology is that we want to just engage with them, and if you engage with them, then they're far more interested, and therefore they're far more likely to learn and understand, and then work hard to make sure that they are the human firewall you need.
Definitely, definitely. This screen, before we move on to the demo, I just kind of wanted to show the high-level logical architecture of the awareness engine. So on the left-hand side, we have all of that information that's being injected into the ESI benchmark, right? That information at a company level, a group level, and a user level. All that information gets digested by the awareness engine, and then it does a couple of different things from there. So the first thing it does is, it takes that information to basically generate the suggested trainings and the suggested e-training for users at the user and group level, right? So based on the ESI, this is the type of stuff that these users should be doing, these groups should be doing. This is the type of training that they should be taking. And the other thing it does is it takes that information and sends it to the CP awareness dashboard, so that the CISO of the organization can take a look at it and make adjustments as needed as well. So really, this is kind of the assignment portion of the solution, as well as the reporting side of it for the CISO. So Matt, what do you think? I'm a firm believer of not killing people with PowerPoint, so
too right.
I think let's do a demo here. So I'm going to hand control over to you. Let's see here. I'm going to make you presenter. You should get a notification.
I hope so. And let's hope you all see the right screen.
Yep, I see your PowerPoint.
Okay, and you and me. Okay, let me just check this over here. So can you see the control panel now?
I can. You might want to zoom it just for a little bit increased readability. Okay. Perfect. Take it away.
Okay. So yeah, thank you, Andy. So this is just a real quick overview of the product as it looks within our dashboard. Without wanting to go back over too many things for those of you who already know what this looks like, but for those of you who don't, this is our control panel. All our products in our control panel, single pane of glass, from our email security products, security awareness products, and backup products, all available. Quick app switcher, switch in between whichever product it is you want within your customer base at the click of a button. Within security awareness here, it's also worth noting that prior to activation, there's always demo data available. So from a partner point of view, if you add a new customer in on day one, you can show that customer demo data on their own account without having to do anything. The moment you activate it, of course, that demo data will disappear, and it'll become real live data, and it'll grow in time with that customer. So, and it says quite clearly here that currently demo data is displayed. So what do we see? First of all, ESI, Andy's explained ESI pretty well, but you can see here a nice simple overview of this dashboard, the CISO view, as we like to call it. Deterioration this week, the forecast for the next 30 days based on current methodologies, and your ESI against the industry average, again, as I mentioned before. So you can see that, 74, as Andy said, that's where you kind of want to be, above 70, but actually our industry standard is 53. So we've got to give ourselves a little bit more kudos for that matter. A little timeline to give you an idea of what's going on, and this is a little bit dynamic. You can zoom in and out and have a look at the data over different periods of time to see how well you're doing. And again, you can see the weakest user versus ESI here. I love this weakest user. Shows you what the bottom end of your scale is versus your current ESI. We have a few other metrics in here too with the training, kind of exactly the same methodology that we've got. Those training users who are between 70 to 100 points and those who are less than 10 points, and the percentage of those people, and again the timeline of that training and how it's going, and then basically the training progress, how much of the trainings that have been dropped into users' educational systems have been watched, viewed, completed, etc. And again, this is all done in terms of real lifetime and scheduled viewing. Down below, you've got user levels, so you can see the kind of where your user base is. So in this particular customer, for example, 101, so the majority users are in level 4, level 5. So that's really good. They're kind of getting to the top level here. We got a few too many stragglers maybe for our liking in level 1. We should maybe look to work with them, and I'll explain how we'll do that automatically for you again in a minute. And then we got a few in level 2 and level 3 who are coming through the ranks, and a little bit of help and guidance might be what they need. So then we dive into the real statistics page within amongst this. Again, the first piece is kind of the same information as a dashboard, but a little bit more in-depth data where you can drill down within the groups and see a little bit more information about what exact groups are in what exact stage within the ESI. You can see the kind of simulated attacks that we're sending. So whether they're defended mails, clicked links, entered credentials, open files, or executed macros, for example. The number of defended mails, so the number of mails that have just been either ignored or reported through our reporter button. The bad number, 850 people have clicked, or the links have been clicked 850 times. Come on, people, we know better than to click those links without giving them a real good look. 140 times you've entered credentials, 130 times you've opened files, and 50 times you've even executed macros. So kind of gives you a real good show and tell of the demographic there. The successful phishing emails shows you the types of mails that have been sent, the level at which they've been sent at, the quantity, whether they contain links, credentials, documents, or macros, and the hit rate. So in this case, meeting invitation in Outlook, 100% hit rate. Even level 3, one of them with a link, bang, everybody that got that clicked that link and joined that meeting, only to be told it was no real meeting. Just because we have it here, if you have a great idea for your own phishing scenario, you can submit this form and give us the details of that email that you'd like us to add in. It's probably worth noting at this point that a lot of people come to go, competitor X has X thousand or X hundred mails, template types of mails, and they seem to have a load and etc. We have somewhere in the region of over 300 base templates, which is a small number when you consider it at that level, but each one is configurable multiple times via multiple levels. So that 200 becomes instantly 200 to the power of 2, 3, 4, which any mathematicians amongst us today will know that becomes exponential very quickly and actually becomes far more powerful. Another great one here, the spider chart, the psychological tricks, the kind of ideas and tricks that have been used and the ones that are working. This to me is, I don't know if the guys in the dev did it on purpose, but it's curiosity killed the cat, and it's going to be the biggest one. And that's kind of going back to, if I can jump back into the dashboard, is it in here, or it might have been in Andy's chart. This one's not so bad, it's just a general growth upwards, but in our PowerPoint that Andy alluded to, you'll see that we kind of went up, then there was a bit of a dip, and then we come back up again, because we know exactly what's going to catch people. So we'll watch you, you'll start to get over 70, 75, and then we'll send you the fluffy cat picture. and watch your ESI plummet back under 50. You know it's going to happen. You know it is every time. And then build you back up again and get you back over. And then just a simple reported emails with the reporter tool. This is a button in Outlook. If I can show you here. No, it's not going to load in my environment. Sod's law, apologies, but I can't get that screen to pop up on the right screen to show you the reporter button. But it's a button in Outlook. You just press, it says report, and it allows you to report those emails as phishing emails within the, here we go. So I'm in an email here. I click here, go to home, report email. You click this button here, it'll drop in the reporter. You can click this one, click report email. If it's actually one of our emails, it'll say, congratulations, you're the human firewall, well done. If it's not, and you're using our filtering system, it'll automatically forward that email into our system and into our SecOps team to say, hey, there's potentially a phishing mail that might have got through here, go and have a review. And that end user will then get feedback via our support system to say, yeah, that was, we've actually got it, thank you, blah, blah, blah. Or actually, no, that was totally benign, but thank you for paying attention. And finally, the kind of two bottom pieces at the bottom here to just give you, again, a bit more granular information of where we are. So the users and groups area, so you see what departments are getting what types of level emails. So the IT department, which we looked at up here, I think as we saw earlier, the IT department is 87 in the ESI stage, so that's really good, but they've had 31 level 5 emails now, so they're really getting the level. I mean, you've got to hope the IT department know what they're doing, and they should be at that level. Good for them, guys. But equally then, support team and or marketing, let's not pick on anyone too bad, they're struggling at the bottom, so they've only got 1 or 2, 3 or 4 of these level 5 because they're still struggling on some of the earlier ones. And again, the kind of via department level, you can see a little pretty graph show how it's looking. All right. You can also see users specific information if you allow that within the phishing training switch on scenario. I'll jump into a live one now so we can see the configuration. So the important point here is privacy mode. You can turn privacy mode on, which means then within there, all the reporting screens and all of the overview screens, there's no user data. You see group data, you'll see company data, but no specific user. There wants to be anything in there to say that Andy's on 87% and Matt Fry's on 5% and keeps clicking the bad emails. You can turn that on at any point in time. If you want to turn it off, you have to get an email to support because we don't want it to just be accidentally turned back off if that's been a company policy. So how do you set this thing up? Jump in, activate security awareness training, jump into the phishing simulation, jump into the users and groups, create yourself some groups, add those users into the groups. Excellent. Now, we want a little bit of specific information. This is where we start the process of that exponential number on the 250, 300 templates. Give us some specific information. So Jay Baxter is the CIO and S. Winter is the public relations and marketing officer in this example. Well, why are we interested in that? Well, because some of our emails are specifically about, let's say, CIO, so that's GDPR. Some of our templates are about GDPR. It wouldn't make sense if you got an email about GDPR from S. Winter, because that's a public relations guy. Why is he sending me? So what I want to know is that Jay Baxter is the CIO. So if I'm sending out the GDPR emails, they're coming from Jay Baxter. They're coming from my CIO. Oh, it's the CIO. Oh, it's about GDPR. Pay attention, because that's what the spammer would do. They'd go and find that information and put it into the email. So we need to do the same. And the bottom piece at the bottom here, excluded users. If you want to exclude some users out, you can do that. As of next week, you can actually do it by groups as well. We've had a feature request to add groups in there. We're adding that in the 8th of February, he says, gingerly. So once you've got your users, you've got a little bit of information, kick off the phishing simulation, activate it. You can put a start date for the phishing simulation. When you activate it, the first question will pop up will say, hey, give us a start date. Here's a template email that we recommend sending out to all the employees to let them know that we're doing this and not catch them off on the hop. But that's, again, your choice. All these items are your choice to do that. The frequency of attacks, 1, 2, or 3 emails a month. It doesn't sound like a lot, but again, as you said before, don't oversaturate the solution. If you oversaturate it, people will become blasé in the opposite manner, in a sense. Do you want credential phishing? Option, privacy mode, we've explained. The reporter button, you can download. It's an XML file, so it's a manifest file to put into M365 and automatically jump into all of your users' outlooks. You want to provide evaluation to users. I'll show you that in a moment. In fact, no, I'll show you now. I'll show you now. So here's an email. This is a great one. This is a level 1 email. Anybody falling for this needs to be needs to go through the training system. Let's be nice. But I'm silly. Clean up my mail. Yep, I need to. Oh, here it is. This is going to change from German to French. Every time I log in here, I get a different language at the moment. So fry at hornetsecurity.com. Now, oh, I've been grabbed. So, and actually, why did that happen on a webinar? That should actually take me to the training page, but that's just being caught by somebody else, and I picked it up. That's an old example, but that'll take you to a training page, and on that training page, it'll explain to you you've been phished, and say to you, please be more careful next time, and take you into the training section that I'll show you in 2 seconds time. Domain spoofing. Do you want to allow domain spoofing? Yes or no? Absolutely, we want domain spoofing in this instance. And then there's a whole load of simulation scenarios, and you can disable certain ones if you want to, or you can just leave it to itself and let it do it itself. One of my favorites here is the Nigerian astronaut level 3. I had to go to the dev team to ask what that was because I really wasn't sure. Apparently he's used all your money from the first 2 attempts. He's got himself to the space station, but now he needs your money to get himself back home again. Apparently he's still doing the rounds worldwide for various reasons. Next, we've got attachments. You can turn on attachments within the emails and macros. The reason these last 2 are here is to do with our own email solution. That within our own email solution, you can allow or deny users the ability to receive macros and or forbidden extensions or attachments. And so we've decided that within the configuration of the product, you can therefore decide to match or counter match how you have it set up within the system. And then another piece of a little bit of information about the company. And again, just to make it that more specific when we generate these personalized templates, the name of the company, the form of the email address, the language you want to use. You can even point to Kununu to get OSINT data for your company. Glassdoor is coming in early 2023, he says in January. So very soon now we'll have Glassdoor as well. So you better link to Glassdoor and get company information. And then the type of organization, is it a company or is it a public authority? And then finally, the configuration of your infrastructure, just a little bit more information about the infrastructure you're using. So here you can automatically activate the advanced delivery through Microsoft 365 Defender. So we'll do the rules for you in 365, and then you can do some test mailing to make sure that the mails are working. All right. Anything I missed there within the SAS system there, Andy, that you can think of?
I don't think so. I think you covered it all.
Okay. All right. Cool. So then the kind of final stage, as you mentioned before, is the e-training aspect within this. So we have the phishing simulation, and then when the end users do need their training or do need a little bit of an extra help within the system, we can fire them through that training. And again, the start of the first training can be this before, the same time, or after the phishing simulation. So you can get them into a training email first and then phish test them, or you can phish test them and then send them into training. You can set a maximum number of trainings per year. So again, you don't saturate them with overtraining, as we've discussed many times. The awareness engine is on by default. And this is basically the automated portion of it. If you activate this, which is by default, like I say, this generates everything for you and does all the hard work for you. And the 3 key things within here are the single user booster. So if this is activated, if you had in the dashboard, I think you saw there was the ESI line and then there was the weakest user line. So if you have a weak user within a great group, so that great group at the moment, I think was the IT department, but one person within that IT department, Matt Fry in IT himself, is not doing so good. He can be targeted for more level 1, 2, 3 emails, while the rest of the group keep getting the 4, 5, and the 6 emails. The productivity booster is basically the other way around. So if you've got a great performing person in a weaker performing group, you don't keep hammering them with the look at my pretty cat picture. You target them with a better one, get them even higher, because they will help drag the group up and therefore the company up. And finally, with notifications, this allows you to see this kind of information here. So you can see the types of information that's been sent, when it's been sent, and to the groups of which it's been sent. So you can see a little bit more detail about the training side of it, okay? If you turn off the awareness engine, you can manually assign trainings yourself as you see fit, okay? So you can set these up and you can actively use these. I am now going to log in as me so that I can go to, apologies, that's the wrong user. Let me log in as the right user.
You have just a few user accounts there, just a few.
Just a few user accounts, daily basis. So logged in as an end user here, you can see that I've got the security hub, and I can click into this, and this will take me out to the security hub, as it were. And nothing is going to work for me today because I'm on a live demo. That's just what I need. Give me 2 seconds.
That's how that goes. While that's loading, I see a couple of questions coming in, so we'll be sure to address those shortly here in the Q&A section. Looks like some of them we've kind of organically answered as part of the demo already, but apparently I forgot to put my cell phone on mute there. Sorry about that. But yeah, some of them we've kind of organically answered already, but the ones we have not, we will be sure to handle here in the Q&A section here just in a couple of minutes.
Okay, cool. So here it's finally loaded up. Somebody's kicked my hamster and I've got internet connection again. So here you can see the e-learnings that have been specifically targeted to me. I'm a new person in this instance of my bestpartner.work account. So I've only got the one, but I can go in and I can watch this video. And the simple e-learning tricks within here, it's very short videos. They're very concise, they're targeted, and they're walkthroughs. So they can walk you through the types of emails that you've had a problem with, and give you a kind of an overview of those, okay, and help you understand what you kind of did wrong with those emails. I really do need a new hamster this week. I'm going to choose an English, please. You have a multitude of languages, obviously, to choose from. There will be audio on this. You probably won't hear the audio come through. In fact, I'll turn it off so it doesn't cause any grief to me. And also then, on the second page of the phishing emails, I can also see my history. So I can see that the number of phishing emails that I've had, and then a bit of a detail about it. So you can see the type of email that I had by clicking in. You say manipulative attacks, time pressure. That's what I got caught by. Come on, don't pay attention. Don't get stung by those. Do the Kahneman system. Take the second view of it. And here it is again. This is where I land. This is where I should have gone the first time around before I got that nice page from whoever. To say that was lucky, it could have been a phishing email, but click here and watch now and watch the video, and it'll just take you through and just give you a little bit of ID. Okay, so again, it's intuitive, it's concise, and it's very simple for the end users. All right. And in essence, I'm going to suggest that's all I've got for today on the demo, Andy. Let me give you control back.
Sure thing.
We'll finish off and we'll go for any Q&As on that.
Yeah, definitely. We've got some good questions. And again, if you have a question, go ahead and pop it into the questions form and go to webinar, and we'll take a look at those shortly here. We'll just have a couple of housekeeping items to take care of here before we wrap up. So just Matt, to confirm really quick, you can see the slide deck again, correct?
Yeah, all good. All good.
Sounds good. So again, Matt's kind of gone through a lot of this stuff already as part of the demo, so we won't spend a ton of time on it here. But again, just some of the key features at a glance. You know, we've got the auto training mode, single user productivity booster. Kind of talked about that. Automatic onboarding of new users, which if I put my system administrator hat back on, is super helpful. You know, as a system admin, I already have a ton of stuff that I'm working on. You know, the more that could be done for me, the better. So that's one of my particular favorite things of the solution. Manual training mode, if you want to manually roll stuff out, maybe you've got particular training that's required by an industry compliance that your organization has to adhere to. You certainly have the option of doing that. In terms of the spear phishing engine, like I mentioned earlier, we've got all the varying levels of difficulty. Again, from those level 1 mass phishing emails, like one of the questions that we had in the questions, basically asking if are all of the phishing engine emails spear phishing, or are they more like more like mass phishing attempts? Well, the answer is they're both, right? So our solution does both of those. And again, as you climb up the levels, it gets increasingly more difficult, right? Level 3, we start doing company OSINT. Level 4, we start doing job position and departments and spoofing domains, and it gets progressively more difficult from there. So a little bit more about the solution. So if you are a partner today, we do have a number of documents and materials available in the partner portal. We've got marketing materials, service descriptions, offer generator, offer templates, white papers, and price list. If you are not registered in the partner portal, you can go ahead and take a look at that QR code there. That will get you to the partner portal registration. And then Matt, I know you like to cover this particular slide. I think you probably stare at this slide a lot all day, every day, right? So I'm gonna let you handle this one.
That's okay. This just gives really a quick product portfolio here at Hornet Security. So today we're focusing on total protection, which is protecting Microsoft 365 with our entire suite. Our real focus today is on SAT, which you see in the bottom right-hand corner, but that's kind of one of a mass selection of products that we have. And I just wanted to very quickly go over our kind of TP plans: plan 1, plan 2, plan 3, plan 4. Simple build on. So plan 1 basic is our generic spam and malware protection, email encryption, and signature and disclaimer tool. Plan 2 adds on to the top of that advanced threat protection with sandboxing, URL rewriting, and alerting and ex-post alerting and ex-post deletions, email archiving, and email continuity. I normally at this point joke that Microsoft is not Microsoft 346 anymore, it's Microsoft 365, but I believe it was yesterday it was down randomly globally for a number of hours.
Sure was.
So if anybody didn't have access to log in yesterday, then they might have liked our continuity. Plan 3 bolts on top of that, backup and recovery of Microsoft 365, so our M365 backup and recovery tool, allowing full backup of Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, and mailboxes. And you can have full restoration and or granular restoration within that. And then finally, plan 4 now, which has not only those products, but SAT, so the phishing and attack simulation, the security awareness training, and the ESI reporting, but also our new product permission manager for Microsoft 365, which is coming out in early February. So we have this whole plan and or 4 plans to help you protect your Microsoft 365 environment from a base level right up to a full nuts and bolts solution.
And then again, just kind of hitting home the fact that, hey, the security awareness service that we've been talking about today is really, just a part of your larger business continuity and security posture, right? It's a number of things are composed of that. You've got security awareness, security, compliance, archive and backup. And, if you're familiar with IT security best practices, the outside of the circle here should look familiar, right? Because we've got prevention, protection, response, and recovery, right? And bringing security awareness into your security strategy really kind of helps you complete this circle and, hopefully bring you up to speed with where you guys want to be.
And as we've spoken about a few times today, that you and I have been doing this for a number of years now, and the same conversations have been happening for the past 10 years, as far as I'm concerned. Yep. With the same customers and the same deal. That it's not down to just your IT team, or it's not down to somebody else to protect your company. Employees need to understand that it's also down to them. Absolutely.
Definitely. Well, one thing I want to leave you guys with before we get to the questions is how you would like us to follow up with you. So what you can do is just use the questions form and go to webinar. select one of the options here and just hit enter, and then we'll know how you want us to follow up with you. So option 1, if you want to be signed up for a newsletter. Number 2, if you'd like to sign up for a free trial of 365 total protection. If you do that, we'll have somebody from sales get in touch with you to get that set up, and you can also ask any of your pricing or servicing questions from there. If you'd like a more technical demo, we've got number 3, so we can have one of our product experts reach out, get a demo scheduled, and do a more individual one-on-one type of demo with you, so we can get all your nitty-gritty technical details and questions answered. And then number 4, if you're just interested in more content, you can go ahead and select number 4. So feel free to, like I said, just punch in the number in the questions form, and we will go ahead and respond accordingly. So from there, what do you think, Matt? Should we take a look at some questions?
Yeah, there's one popped in from somebody who's just asked if this will be recorded and available post, and the answer is yes. I believe it's going to be put up on Bright Talk, but it'll definitely be available afterwards. If you say hello to us in one of the methods Andy's just mentioned, we will sure give you a link.
Definitely. The other thing I wanted to mention, speaking of after event resources, if you look in the handouts section, we actually have a report there for your viewing pleasure that talks about the ESI benchmark. So that's a pretty nice document if you're kind of interested in the Employee Security Index, how that works, and some more information there. So be sure to check out the handout section of GoToWebinar. You can pick up a copy of that there. In terms of the questions, Matt, any others that stand out to you that you want to make sure we cover live on the air?
No, I don't think so. I'm just looking at another question coming in. Is it possible to use this video meeting for our coming events, customer meetings? Absolutely. I say it's going to be public available on Bright Talk, so please feel free to use them as you wish. It's not a problem.
Let's see. Taking a look. I think most of these questions we kind of answered organically as we've gone along.
I think we did. Yeah.
Let's see. There's one question here that you might be aware of, Matt, talking about Microsoft Defender. Basically, the question kind of centers around the fact that, hey, we're sending out these phishing emails. If they're using some other solution for, spam detection, is there a way that we can kind of whitelist the security awareness training emails?
Yeah, of course I can. First off, I think I showed in the demo, and apologies if I didn't, that there is a button for Microsoft Defender to allow our mails through as a generic rule. And yes, we do keep that updated with Microsoft. There's been a change recently, and so we're having to make some changes to get it through. Microsoft has upped something within, I think, ATP, but we will always have that option to whitelist emails through, and we've got an extensive manual which you can follow and an extensive knowledge base. If you're ever unsure or something's not working, you can go back to the manual and or the knowledge base and see the steps that we recommend and make sure they're all in place for you, right?
Yep. I think we got time for one more question. There's one here. I actually saw 2 questions around this, and that was the process of getting the reporter button inside of Outlook. Can you speak to that really quick, Matt?
Yeah, so the reporter button at the moment is a standalone button, a standalone XML file that you can import into add-ins into Microsoft 365, which you can then roll out to your end users. We also have a Hornet Security add-in in Microsoft 365, and we are in the process of assimilating those 2 things into one as well. So it'll be one add-in would be our entire product suite. So it should be available for everybody, right?
That sounds good. Well, I think
got time for one more question just because one's popped in.
Yeah, sure.
The bulk of our users don't log into Control Panel. I presume the users are sent reminders to complete the training. Yes, they can be sent reminders out of the training system to complete the training. Also, remember that every time they click a link or they don't catch a phishing email or one of our training simulation emails, they will automatically be given a link there and then back into their training session, into their training environment, so they can go and see where they are and what's going on. You also, within the dashboard, have reports. You can see at any point in time how many people are doing what sessions and how far through they are. So are they complete, are they partially complete, not started? So you also have that information available on the dashboard for you.
That sounds good. Well, with that, Matt, I think we're out of time. want to be cognizant and let everybody get back to their day. Matt, thanks
Absolutely.
for coming and sharing your knowledge and giving us that awesome demo. Really appreciate that. And
You're more than welcome, Andy. It's good to talk.
yeah, it was great. It was great. And then everybody, thanks for attending. We hope to see you for a future Hornet security webinar. And, you know, if you put something in the questions form about how you'd like us to reach back out to you, we'll be in touch. Other than that, have a great day and we'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.